India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presented the interim budget on Thursday. She said that the government is focused on an all-round, all-pervasive and an all-inclusive development. The Finance Minister said that the government is focusing on the poor, on women, on youth and farmers. The income tax slabs have remained unchanged, while the fiscal deficit for the financial year 24-25 is pegged at 5.1% of the GDP. Projects for port connectivity amenities to be taken up on islands like Lakshadweep, and also the fiscal deficit at 4.5%. This is for the financial year 2026. The financial year 2025 gross market borrowing seen at 14.13 lakh crore rupees, and FY25 the net borrowing is seen at rupees 11.75 lakh crore rupees. There will be no proposals made on tax rates, direct or indirect, and there's been no change in income tax slabs to withdraw direct benefits, tax benefits, the tax demands, in fact, to withdraw direct tax demands up to 25,000 up to financial year FY25. The total expenditure estimated is at 47.66 lakh crore rupees. The FY25 total receipts are at 30.80 lakh crore rupees. The Finance Minister also said that the government's development philosophy covered all elements of inclusivity. She said that the country overcame the challenges of once-in-a-century pandemic and laid solid foundations for the Amrit Kaal.
Our development philosophy covered all elements of inclusivity, namely social inclusivity through coverage of all strata of the society, and geographical inclusivity through development of all regions of the country. With the whole of nation approach of Sabka Prayas, the country overcame the challenges of once-in-a-century pandemic, took long strides towards Atmanirbhar Bharat, committed to Panch Pran, and laid solid foundations for the Amrit Kaal.
When presenting the interim budget, India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that the country's economy has witnessed profound positive transformation in the last 10 years.
The Indian economy has witnessed profound positive transformation in the last 10 years. The people of India are looking ahead to the future with hope and optimism. With the blessings of the people, when our government, under the visionary and dynamic leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, assumed office in 2014, the country was facing enormous challenges. With Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas as its mantra, the government overcame those challenges in right earnest.
The Budget 2024, let's look at some of the provisions for the education sector. The empowering of the Amrit PD, or the Yuva, the youth people, and these are the ones who are going to be leading the country in the next 25 years. Prosperity depends on an adequately equipping of and empowering of the youth. The National Education Policy 2020 ushers in transformational reforms. The PM Schools for Rising India and PM Shri Schools have delivered quality teaching. The Skill India mission has trained 1.4 crore youth. They upskilled and reskilled 54 lakh youth, and they have also established 3,000 new ITIs. There's been a large number of institutions of higher learning, and these are 7 IITs, 6 IIITs or triple ITs, 7 IIMs, and 15 AIMs, which have been added. Also, 390 universities have been set up. So this is the contribution of the education sector mentioned in the budget, but on a much larger canvas about the policies like the national education policies, which have ushered in transformational reforms, and what the government has done over the last 10 years in building so many more universities and IITs and triple ITs, or Indian Institutes of Information Technology is a triple IT. And joining us now is our correspondent Vikas Sarthi, who is joining us from Delhi. Vikas covers the parliament for us. Tell us, Vikas, what is the general reaction to the budget from the parliamentarians?
Well, Mark, most of the parliamentarians, certainly not the opposition MPs, are happy with the budget. And in fact, since it's an interim budget, there was not much expectation regarding the change in a tax slab or making more rebates in the standard deductions. But by and large, the reaction of MPs, also of the parties which are not part of the NDA, that the finance minister has given a very balanced judgment. And in fact, Prime Minister also underlined that 4 major pillars are there in the speech. First is that farmers, youth, poor, and women. These are 4 pillars of Indian economy. They are contributing to our economy in a very large scale. And in fact, Prime Minister said that we will ensure that our youth gets more opportunity in starting startups. For example, when this government came into power in 2014, Modi government when first came into power in 2014, the number of startups were around 400 or something, and now after a decade, after 10 years, the numbers have crossed more than 1 lakh. And in fact, if we go by the figures of the startups and patents that India has registered, it clearly shows that our youths are giving a more robust economy. They are participating in building up India as the 3rd largest economy in the coming future. And this, since there are some constraints for the finance minister that she could not change the budget slabs or make major announcements. But again,
yes.
This speech clearly reflects that what will be the future course of action for Indian economy when a full-fledged budget will be introduced in the parliament in the July. So that this speech also gives a kind of outline for the full-fledged budget which will come in July. Mark?
Indeed, and taking that further, we are also joined by Aisha Khanum from Bengaluru. The full budget, in fact, the government is very confident of presenting that full budget because the finance minister mentioned that in her speech as well, Aisha. She says that, you know, with confidence arising from strong and exemplary track record of performance and progress, earning Sabka Vishwas, the next 5 years will be years of unprecedented development and golden moments to realize the dream of a developed India at 2047. How is, you know, I mean, what is the general reaction amongst the youth, let's say, in Bengaluru?
The youth, the industry, and the women are particularly, in appreciation of this budget very much, because it clearly outlines their role in the, developed India. And also, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has always been talking about, these women-led development and youth as the pillars of the new India. So this budget talks about their requirement. This budget talks about, impetus given to the startups as such. But women as such, is very a clear indication that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has a very clearly drawn blueprint for the women-led development for the India of tomorrow. I have with me Uma Reddy, who is the Vice President of FKCCI and also an industrialist and entrepreneur herself. Uma, there is a reason for women to smile in this budget. So there is very clear, framework for the women-led development in this budget, be it health or be it industry.
Yes, so it was very nice to hear the finance minister talk about Viksit Bharat, including women, yuva, the poor, and the farmers. And wearing the hat of an entrepreneur, I must say that there is a great opportunity for entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs also, because you're part of the 3% procurement by the, as part of the policy envisioned by the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, and laying out the roadmap for Viksit Bharat, which includes women. So in the context, there is EV vehicles and battery charging, which again provides a lot of opportunity for women entrepreneurship. She talked about the 11 lakh crores corpus fund that is available for startups and entrepreneurs at a low interest loan. So that again ignites a lot of entrepreneurship at the startup level.
So Bangalore is one ground for startups, and there are many startups.
Absolutely. And also the infrastructure that they talked about, be it roadways, airways, and the train. All these are definitely manufacturing opportunities, and women are definitely going to be part of the entrepreneurship. So there is an opportunity for every women-owned enterprise to look forward to greater days ahead. The second thing that she did mention about is the health part of it for women, where she talked about the vaccine for cervical cancer, which will help a lot of women at all levels. And the third, and she talked about the Lakpati Didis. Yeah. And women per se, we love to emulate other women. We love to see role models, and it's across. So when you see another woman, I think that will have a multiplier effect. So holistically, there are great opportunities for women. And it shows there is something greater days ahead. And I think the confidence with which the finance minister said that the next budget will be something for all of us to look forward to. Yeah.
So that is a confidence that this budget has given, for the industry, for the people, and for the youth and women. That though it is an interim budget, it was a confident statement by the finance minister when she said that by July we will, go ahead and take a full-fledged budget. So yes, this confidence is speaking, everywhere, and this confidence shows that people do trust, so far the scheme that have been laid by the central government, and the schemes reaching out to the people far wide villages as well. Now, if we look at Viksit Bharat initiative by the state government, wherein the government is trying to saturate its own schemes. So all the schemes, the flagship schemes, have been saturated, and it is going to the nook and corners of the country. So this is the confidence that has been instilled among the people, and they hope that this interim budget will turn into a full-fledged budget as expressed by the finance minister.
Indeed. Let's turn once again to Vikas Sarthi, who's with us. Vikas, there's also been a very strong green focus in the budget, and you have been, following the environment as well with interest. So if you look at, the number of e-vehicles that the government wants to start investing in themselves, are you seeing that, government is continuing to make that transition itself first? It's also bringing in a lot more in terms of public transport, but otherwise itself, within government, the people who are entitled to government vehicles, are they using e-vehicles?
Exactly, Mark. So the government's view is that the way we will shift to the electric vehicles, it will certainly enable the country to achieve its targets of zero emission. In fact, as far as the emission targets are concerned, India is much ahead of other countries, and most of the targets which have been promised at the conference of parties have been achieved before time. And in that spirit also, the government is now focusing on shifting the whole transport system to electric vehicles. As far as the government's policy is concerned, we have seen that in the cluster buses in the metro cities, the buses are being converted into electric vehicles, and the government vehicles are also being converted to electric vehicles at a very high speed. The government is also aware that it needs some huge investment in infrastructure, in charging points. These investments will be made as per the requirement, and as far as the funds are concerned, the government has been always providing. States also are being given subsidies to promote EVs and to install charging capacities in their area. So definitely thrust is on new and renewable energy resources, so that though we have already achieved most of the emission targets, but in the future as well, we will meet future targets before time.
Okay, believe it. Thank you very much, Vikas Sarthi and Aisha Khanam. Thank you for joining us for the moment. Let's move on to our next story. India's finance minister today presented the interim budget. and the government is committed to making the country Viksit Bharat, or developed India, by 2047. Let's look at this report.
A vote of accountability. In a budget speech that contextualized India's economic management in a global order, the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman spoke of a vision of the Amrit Kal, and India as a developed country by 2047. She said the country had shown the way during turbulent economic times as a consensus builder to find solutions to global problems.
The recently announced India-Middle East-Europe economic corridor is a strategic and economic game changer for India and others. In the words of Honorable Prime Minister, the corridor, and I quote, will become the basis of world trade for hundreds of years to come, and history will remember that this corridor was initiated on Indian soil.
India is moving forward towards a Viksit Bharat, or a developed India. Much of that vision sees a transition to green energy. The Budget 2024 makes significant announcements towards green transition. 10 million households will get up to 300 units of free electricity every month through the adoption of rooftop solarization. This is in keeping with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's resolve made at the time of the Ram Temple consecration.
Through rooftop solarization, 1 crore households will be enabled to obtain up to 300 units free electricity every month. This scheme follows the resolve of Honorable Prime Minister on the historic day of consecration of Sri Ram Mandir in Ayodhya. Savings up to 15 to 18,000 rupees annually for households from free solar electricity and selling the surplus to the distribution companies. Charging of electric vehicles. Entrepreneurship opportunities for a large number of vendors for supply and installation. Employment opportunities for the youth with technical skills in manufacturing, installation, and maintenance.
The government is also providing viability gap funding for offshore wind energy projects. E-vehicle ecosystem will get a boost through greater government support for manufacturing and adoption of e-vehicles in public transport. The FDI inflow between 2014 and 2023 has been doubled compared to the period 2004 to 2013. The government has also been aiming to maximize the multiplier effect of capital expenditure and has increased it by a numerical aesthetical 11.1% to 11,11,111 crore rupees.
Building on the massive tripling of the capital expenditure outlay in the past 4 years, resulting in huge multiplier impact on economic growth and employment creation, the outlay for the next year is being increased by 11.1% to 11,11,111 crore rupees. This would be 3.4% of our GDP.
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman committed to reducing the fiscal deficit to 5.1% in the current budget and to reduce it further to below 4.5% by 2025-26, a clear path of fiscal consolidation. She committed the interim budget to the House with a reference to the economy being firmly placed on a high sustainable growth path. Bureau Report, DD India.
And we are joined by Prasar Sharma, who's the founder and CEO of WUS, which is Worker Support Union Support. We are going to be joined by him in a little while from now. We are getting in touch with him. So we are getting reactions from people from different industries, startups. We're looking at different kinds of views based on what people have felt with regard to the budget. And we are now joined by Mr. Prasar Sharma. So what do you think of the budget? How does it help? Let's say first of all, let me understand what worker union support does, and how does the budget help you?
So we are an IIT and I'm based startup. So we work for digital inclusions of blue and gray collar worker. And as far as about the budget, I think it's in golden era for entrepreneurs, startups, and problem solvers, and especially for deep tech and women. If you see in this budget, they have specifically mentioned about creating a corpus of 1 lakh crore, which will be given for 50 years interest-free. So if you want to create your own chipsets or you want to be in microchipset or semiconductors as an entrepreneur, this is in golden era. And secondly, not only these resources, there are ample amount of projects which government has created in infrastructure, in defense. So I think overall it's in a golden era. And now coming towards women entrepreneurs, around 34 crores of Mudra loan were given to women entrepreneurs. If you see, there is an increase in 28% of increase in women enrollments in higher educations. And specifically in STEM related projects, 43% is represented by women scientists or professionals. So this shows a comprehensive ecosystem has been created for people who wants to solve problems not only for India, but for the world. And there are ample amount of not only resources, but also projects also. And if you see, there is another mention about, building capacity of Indian MSMEs to go global.
Right.
And that is another highlight. So startups which has, reached a certain level, now they can use these opportunities to go global, sell their products and technology around the world. And also, we can provide, skilling opportunities. If you see, there is a big impetus on skilling youth, not only which is provided to Indian industries, but to the global industries as well.
Indeed. Now, you did mention about the corpus of 1 lakh crore rupees, and you do deal with with a space where you're actually interacting with a lot of people who are in this, who would probably like to use this corpus in a sense, to create new, businesses and the innovation spirit. Let us understand about the energy in this space and what can we create, because it clearly will be, if entrepreneurship takes off, that's where growth really begins.
So this gives confidence to entrepreneurs, especially in deep tech. If you see, we ourselves are building some IoT-based 6G-related, products. That takes around 3 to 7 years to build a good MVP, and then certifications to go global. With this corpus, there'll be a lot of people who were on the verge of jumping to entrepreneurs, specifically the global Indians, will definitely jump in this arena, specifically the industry which takes longer to penetrate, whether it's semiconductors, whether it's quantum computing, even in some aspect AI also. So I think there is a positive sentiment, not only the entrepreneurs who are already in the ecosystem, but the people who were thinking to join this force, who are sitting outside India, because India is becoming a global hub for entrepreneurship and positivity in the global economy.
So the market is global, but also the market, within the government itself, since the government is putting out funds, we can see that, in terms of capital investment, it's going to be so high, capital expenditure. Perhaps, there could be innovative ways of building capital, of building infrastructure that can help, making things move faster, more strong, things like that. Apart from that, there is the government spending a lot on deep technologies in defense. All this is that the government is also providing a market. In this context, are we seeing a sort of a pull factor there?
Indeed, yes. If you see, not only this, if you see in drone, we have created our own policies. Even in state levels, you see drone Didi programs has been, conducted by Department of Science and Technologies. There is an entrepreneurship programs going for AI and machine learning. So there is a a comprehensive way to, first build the capacity and capability. And then, this also get, attentions of big MNCs where we are building global capacity or capability centers in India because they need such skilled, professionals. So if you see there is an increase in multinationals having their global capability or innovation centers in India, and that will definitely will increase with these kind of initiatives. And if you see, there is also an increase in FDI, and there are a lot many bilateral, country-related discussions is going on, and R&D and tech-based cooperation is always, key theme for Indian stakeholders. So I think that will again increase, opportunities for entrepreneurs based out in India.
Also, one of the focus areas is green energy, and that also is an area which is coming up in terms of innovation. So in this context also, what do you think? I mean, is there sufficient interest amongst the entrepreneurs to, invest and move? Because government is largely talking about e-vehicles, but there must be, a lot more interesting things, appliances and things like that, which one can use, which save the environment.
So in this, one of the opportunity which government is created is by, announcing these rooftop solar panels.
Yes.
This gives a lot of business opportunities to MSMEs and startups, and also to, in a space to innovate, where the consumer is benefiting directly by saving the electricity bill, but they can also sell that electricity to the grid. And this way, it pushes market and entrepreneurs to innovate and to bring more resources, in particular this in green energy. And because India is also heading International Solar Alliance, so this also gives an opportunity to green energy startups to replicate their success cases in international arena as well. So I think there will be a lot more business opportunity there. So this will definitely attract many startups in green finance. And there is a special blue economy thrust is also given in this particular budget.
Right.
This will also increase, green energy or blue economy, and also startups will get attracted in this particular domain.
Indeed. And if we look at, some of the questions that some of our experts were looking at, I mean, for thinking out of the box, in the agriculture sector also, there requires, there's plenty of scope for innovation and innovative products, not only drones, to increase productivity and displace labor towards manufacturing if possible, and also to bring in some sort of, I know that technology takes away, in a sense, I mean, theoretically it takes away from labor intensive, but the point is that there could also be processes that can aid labor intensive manufacturing. Your thoughts?
I think yes, if you see in agro startups, starting from the soil test to having an organic fertilizers, this is what Indian startup has already contributed. And if you see, there is a multifold increase in food processing industries because the processes has been more innovative from our side. And I think there is still a scope in agri-tech basically to utilize these resources, specifically the natural resources. So there is an impetus, but I think for agrotech, more collaboration is needed till panchayat level with the agri startups. And I think UP is doing very well. UP and Gujarat, there are certain pilots done in panchayat levels where startups can get access and do a pilot there. So a lot of red tapeism has been removed for these startups. So I think things are going good, but India as a huge and with diverse geographical areas, it's still many things can be done.
We leave it there. Thank you very much, Mr. Prasoon Sharma, the founder, CEO of WEUS. Thank you for talking to us about the startup ecosystem and how they are benefiting from the budget. The Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that the government is concentrating on a more comprehensive GDP, and she redefined it and said that she's talking about governance, development and performance.
Indirect taxation. By unifying the highly fragmented indirect tax regime in India, the GST has reduced the compliance burden on trade and industry. The industry has acknowledged the benefits of GST. According to a recent survey conducted by a leading consulting firm, 94% of industry leaders view the transition to GST as largely positive.
In fact, yes, she did talk about the goods and services tax benefits, and the Finance Minister said that GST unified the indirect tax regime in India.
Exemplary track record of governance, development and performance. Besides delivering on high growth in terms of gross domestic product, the government is equally focused on a more comprehensive GDP, that is, governance, development and performance. Our government has provided transparent, accountable, people-centric and prompt, trust-based administration with citizen first and minimum government, maximum governance approach.
That was the Finance Minister talking about the GDP, which means governance, development and performance. Moving on then, Nirmala Sitharaman also said that under the new tax regime, there's no liability for taxpayers with an income up to 7 lakh rupees per annum.
Under the new tax scheme, there is now no tax liability for taxpayers with income up to 7 lakh rupees, up from 2.2 lakh rupees in the financial year 2013-14.
And the Finance Minister also mentioned how corporate tax rate has decreased from 30% in the past to 22% for domestic companies.
The threshold for presumptive taxation for retail businesses was increased from 2 crores to 3 crores. Similarly, the threshold for professionals eligible for presumptive taxation was increased from 50 lakh rupees to 75 lakh rupees. Also, corporate tax rate was decreased from 30% to 22% for existing domestic companies and to 15% for certain new manufacturing companies.
And our correspondent Akshay Dongre is with us. Akshay looks at the defense sector quite closely and security matters. Akshay, so the budget does talk a little bit about innovation for startups in the defense sector. Tell us a little bit about the interest in this sector.
Well, Mark, we heard Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman talking about the defense budget as well, where she said that a new scheme will be brought in for deep tech. Now, that's a key phrase that's being used by major countries around the world as far as innovation and technology in defense sector is concerned, along with other sectors too. However, when we talk about specifically the defense sector, it is going to be a key as far as a renovation and modernization drive is concerned. We have been seeing that over the past several years, the government of India has been consistently increasing the defense budget. Last year it was somewhere around $73 billion for the year. This time it has been increased furthermore from about 5.97 lakh crore rupees to about 6.2 lakh crore rupees. And even though it is an interim budget, it seems that these are seeds that are being sowed as far as innovation in the defense sector is concerned. Now, as the private sector and the public sector are working together in defense production and manufacturing, it is required, requirement of the time right now that startups come with deep tech, that is highly sophisticated technology that is used by startups as well as companies to find out innovative innovative ways to find solutions to a lot of things a lot of rather challenges that the defense industry faces. So if you look at the modernization drive, if we look at how the public and private sector are going to go hand in hand as far as defense production is concerned, this can be a key scheme as far as the modernization drive in the defense forces is concerned. That has been the focus of the government for the past several years now.
Right. Also, Akshay, you have been, you in fact covered the G20 summit. You look at international affairs closely. Talking about solutions, the finance minister mentioned this in a speech as well, about how India built a consensus to all the global problems. In that respect, you know, the Indian economy has emerged much stronger as a result of this. But when we look at the concept of consensus building itself now as an approach, we see that also in terms of the possibilities that, you know, because of India tying up with various countries to trade market access, there is a lot more opportunity for Indian products to find global markets.
Well, absolutely.
Yes, go ahead.
Absolutely, Mark. In fact, we saw that how India became voice of the global south as far as the G20 tenure was concerned, where India held the presidency. We saw how India, in fact, spoke about the inclusion of African Union in the G20 that now has become G21. Rather, we saw that these are not just the goodwill gestures that the government of India has been showing towards other countries, towards neighbors, as well as other emerging markets, but India has become a shining beacon of hope as far as the global economy is concerned. We are seeing that because of the crises that the world is seeing right now, be it the Ukraine conflict, the Ukraine war that has been going on, or the conflict in Middle East that is now spilling over as well. India still maintains a robust economy, and that has become an example for a lot of African nations, for countries in Southern America, for countries in Southeast Asia as well, that how on similar lines a robust and a strong economy can be maintained despite the several challenges that the world economy faces. And that is what the finance minister also stated as far as the Indian economy is concerned, and how robust it has been for several years despite the challenges that we are seeing in the geopolitical scenario. So that remains a key issue. However, the government is optimistic, the spending is being increased, and that is going to give a positive outlook as far as the Indian economy's growth is concerned.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Akshay Dongre, for joining us from the newsroom with an update. Now, Nirmala Sitharaman also said that the fiscal deficit in 2024-25 is estimated to be 5.1% of GDP. She talked about a fiscal consolidation roadmap.
The fiscal deficit in 2024-25 is estimated to be 5.1% of GDP, adhering to that path. So the gross and net market borrowings through dated securities during 24-25 are estimated at 14.13 lakh crore rupees and 11.75 lakh crore respectively. Both will be less than that in 23-24. Now that the private investments are happening at scale, the lower borrowings by the central government will facilitate larger availability of credit for the private sector.
Now let's take a look also at the momentum that for women empowerment in the budget. It's called Nari Shakti in Hindi, and the budget is looking at making triple talaq illegal. It has enhanced dignity of women in India. These are some of the moves that the government has already made. There's reservation of 1/3 seats in Lok Sabha and state assemblies. The government has given over 70% of the houses under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, that is a scheme for rural housing in rural areas, to women as the sole joint owner, because they have, in fact, sole owner, because they have enhanced dignity as a result of owning that property. And also empowerment of women through entrepreneurship. The ease of living and their dignity has gained momentum in the last 10 years. 30 crore Mudra Yojana loans have been given to women entrepreneurs. The female enrollment in higher education has gone up by 28% in the last 10 years. And in STEM courses, girls and women constitute 43% of the enrollment, which is one of the highest in the world. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and maths. And all these are, getting reflected in increasing participation of women in the workforce. And the finance minister said that we need to focus on the poor, on women, on youth, on farmers. So all four require and they receive the government support, and their needs and aspirations and welfare are high priority for the government. The empowerment is and the well-being will drive the country forward. That is what the government approaches. And Nirmala Sitharaman also said that the government is working with an approach to the development which is all-round, all-pervasive and all-inclusive. Well, we are joined by DD India correspondent Shama Mishra, who, in fact, we are going to be, before we go to Shama, we are going to play out what the finance minister said.
Our government is working with an approach to development that is all-round, all-pervasive and all-inclusive. Sarvangin, Sarvasparshi or Sarvasamaveshi. It covers all castes and people at all levels. We are working to make India a Viksit Bharat by 2047.
And Shama Mishra is with us from Mumbai. So Shama, we have been listening to comments from different sectors of the economy. If I have to ask you, I mean, Mumbai has it all. It has the startups, it has the financial sector, it has the markets. I mean, everything seems to be centered there. I mean, if the budget, we talk about the budget, really Mumbai comes directly into focus. So, I mean, when we look at today, what's the general mood like? What are people talking about? What's the buzz on the street?
Well, the buzz on the street is like they were expecting that there'll be no major changes, major announcements. And the Mumbaikars are actually amused that this was one of the shortest budget announcements that they've ever seen. They also say that they were keenly watching that those major announcements that will impact their investments, their money in the market, what they've put. Some of them are the first-time investors, and many of them actually are the first-time investors, and they were also really interested in what the announcements would be. That said, we are seeing that markets are currently volatile, but we have also spoken to the NSE MD and CEO, who has said that the markets have taken it well, although it's a little volatile right now, but this is a 10 out of 10 budget announcement. Now going to the larger picture of Maharashtra, you've already spoken about, there are youth in Mumbai, there are startups in Mumbai, and with all these budget announcements, there are so much that the Mumbaikars will gain from it, and the Maharashtra or the rural area, the urban area, will also be gaining a large, a large part of it, because the finance minister over here has spoken about 4 main pillars, which is Gyan, and as we speak about farmers, she has also spoken about how various incentives, various initiatives for farmers will help the Annadata, and as we know that Maharashtra is a large grain or other vegetable or other food producing state, so the farmers are set to benefit from that. We are also talking about Nari Shakti. In Maharashtra also, we've been doing stories on how the PM Awas Yojana has benefited so many families, and out of that, the women who lead the family are also benefiting with self-respect, with self-empowerment because of such schemes. So this has also been mentioned in that. Now, the schemes of building affordable homes has the aim has also been increased. So more number of PM Awas Yojana loans would be distributed, more names, more number of homes on women's name would be there. So that is another empowerment that we are seeing. On the startup front, we are also seeing that tax relief has been given. Then the research and innovation fund has also been given. It's a large amount. So the urban area is set to benefit from that, and for the youth also, there'll be so many employment generation policies and the affiliated sectors that will be generating so many employment opportunities. So the youth is also set to gain from that. So overall, we can say that every section has been touched upon in this budget.
Shama, if we look at this rooftop solarization announcement that has come in the budget, and I mean, what is the potential in Mumbai for rooftop solar? Also, the housing possibility. Of course, the government will come out with this when it's returned to power. But the question of providing everybody who rents a house the ability to build and own a house is something that I'm sure lots of people in Mumbai will be looking forward to.
The EV segment was actually looking ahead with some major announcements, and this is one of the major announcements. But here in Mumbai, if you see the landscape of Mumbai, there are majorly the skyscrapers over here. So in that case, not one person will have that opportunity to gain, by saying it's his house and he's put up that infrastructure. But it will be more, accountable for the society, for the society CHS, what we say over here. So more study has to be done how it can be incorporated. The state government along with various other bodies will have to study it in detail, how this can be actually brought into from decision to action. That will have to be studied. But yes, if you go out to the borders of Mumbai, to the borders of urban area, then over there we can understand that people who are now getting more aware, relying less on the fossil fuel, that is the traditional vehicles, buying or purchasing or thinking of purchasing the EV, this will definitely be be something that they will think about, because that is the future. Buying a vehicle which runs on petrol or diesel will give you an opportunity for 15 years, but later than that it will be everything is changing. So a study has to be done on that, and then we can see how it will benefit.
We leave it there. Thank you very much. Shama Mishra, our correspondent, joining us from Mumbai. Now, India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presented the 2020 interim budget, and she said that her own twist of acronyms and commonly used financial terms, that's what she used. And in her budget speech, she termed GDP as governance, development and performance. That's one of the things she mentioned, highlighting on the government's delivery of high growth and focus on a comprehensive GDP. She termed FDI as first developed India, and that encourages sustained foreign investment and negotiating bilateral treaties with the country's foreign partners. And she also emphasized on the importance of the forecasts given by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Gyan, which is what even Shama was talking about, and so was Aisha. Gharib, Yuva, Annadata and Nari, focusing on the poor, youth, food, the food giver and women of the country. Now, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed the budget, and the Prime Minister said, India's Prime Minister said this, he said this budget has a reflection of the young aspirations of the people.
ये बजट विकसित भारत के 4 स्तंभ युवा, गरीब, महिला और किसान सभी को एम्पावर करेगा। निर्मला जी का ये बजट देश के भविष्य के निर्माण का बजट है। इस बजट में 2047 के विकसित भारत की नींव को मजबूत करने की गारंटी है।
Welcoming the interim budget, the Union Minister Nitin Gadkari said this budget is aimed at strengthening India's economic sector in line with the Prime Minister's resolve to make India the third largest economy of the world.
दुनिया में भारत को तीसरी अर्थव्यवस्था बनाने का जो संकल्प प्रधानमंत्री जी ने किया है, उसी के अनुसार वित्त मंत्री जी का ये बजट हिंदुस्तान की आर्थिक क्षेत्र को मजबूत करने वाला है, एक्सपोर्ट को बढ़ाने वाला है, उद्योग व्यवसाय की तरक्की करने वाला है और रोजगार नए क्रिएट करने वाला है। मुझे विश्वास है कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को अब जब से ज़्यादा प्रायोरिटी मिली है। हमारा भी बजट काफ़ी बड़ा है और निश्चित रूप से आने वाले समय में हमारे देश का रेलवे का, हवाई जहाज, एयरपोर्ट्स, रोड और पावर, ये जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के चारों क्षेत्र हैं, हम वर्ल्ड स्टैंडर्ड के बनेंगे, ऐसा मुझे विश्वास है।
Well, the Union Minister Kiren Rijiju thanked the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and Prime Minister Modi for the interim budget presented today, and he said that India has become a confident country in terms of the economy.
बढ़िया बजट जो एक दिशा देता है, अगले बार जब रेगुलर बजट पेश करेंगे उस बीच का जो फासला है उसको पूरा करके साथ साथ पूरा 2047 तक विकसित भारत का नींव कैसे रखना है, इतना सुंदर से रखा, कोई सेक्टर छूटा नहीं है।
Union Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar appreciated the Finance Minister Sitharaman for presenting an interim budget that summarized the qualitative and quantitative transformation of the Indian economy in the last 10 years.
Our Honorable Finance Minister has done an excellent job in summarizing what has happened and how India has transformed in the last 10 years. India is on a launch pad to become a developed nation in our lifetime. So this has been an excellent summary, the interim budget, of what the qualitative and quantitative transformation of the Indian economy has gone through in the last 10 years.
The Union Minister Dharmendra Pradhan welcomed the interim budget presented by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Thursday, calling it a stepping stone towards Viksit Bharat.
आने वाले दिनों में जब हम विकसित भारत की ओर बढ़ रहे हैं, ये बजट उसके लिए एक बहुत बड़ा स्टेपिंग स्टोन है। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने जय अनुसंधान की बात कही थी, सिर्फ कहे नहीं, उसको क्रियान्वयन करने के लिए आज बजट में 1 लाख करोड़ रुपया की एक कॉर्पस फंड की अनाउंस किया गया।
And India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh congratulated the Finance Minister for presenting a very encouraging interim budget. Let's listen.
वित्त मंत्री श्रीमती निर्मला सीतारमण जी ने आज जो इंटरिम बजट पेश किया, ये फुल फ्लेज बजट नहीं है, इंटरिम बजट है, लेकिन इंटरिम बजट जो भी उन्होंने प्रस्तुत किया है वो बहुत ही इंकरेजिंग है, बहुत ही उत्साहवर्धक है और आगे के लिए भी और अधिक आशाएं बढ़ती हैं। और भारत की इकॉनमी की साइज जितनी इस समय है, इसमें पूरी तरह से मैं आश्वस्त हूँ इस इंटरिम बजट के कारण ही, जो भी इंडिकेशन इस बजट से मिले हैं कि हमारी इकॉनमी जो आज दुनिया की टाइप 5 कंट्रीज में है, उसकी साइज बढ़कर 2027 तक मोर देन $5 ट्रिलियन जाएगी और 2030 आते आते मोर देन $7 ट्रिलियन तक पहुंचेगी।
And the Union Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia also called the interim budget historic. He credited the Prime Minister for a wave of that is transforming India.
एक ऐतिहासिक बजट है जो पूर्ण रूप से परिलक्षित करता है कि प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में जो भारत में एक नई क्रांति और परिवर्तन पिछले एक दशक में आई है, एक विकसित भारत का लक्ष्य, एक आत्मनिर्भर भारत का लक्ष्य, एक विश्व गुरु बनने का लक्ष्य, उन तीनों लक्ष्यों के प्रति पूर्ण श्रद्धा के साथ और गति के साथ भारत बढ़ चुका है।
The Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry welcomed the interim budget presented by the Finance Minister. They said it's strong, confident and deep diving into the state of affairs of the Indian economy.
We've just witnessed the interim budget which was presented by the Honorable Finance Minister. I think it was a very strong, confident, deep dive into the state of affairs of the Indian economy and all that the government has done in the last decade or so. What stood out for me was the clear articulation that the focus groups on which the government is working on for upliftment and development are the poor, the women, the youth, and the farmers. There is a clear emphasis on green growth and inclusive growth. In as much as green growth is concerned, initiatives such as the viability gap funding for offshore wind, as well as a focus on the EV ecosystem, I think stood out.
Well, the U.S. Federal Reserve, it's held interest rates steady and says that more confidence is needed in inflation management before the rates are cut. Speaking at a news conference, the Federal Reserve's chairman, Jerome Powell, said that the committee decided to maintain the target interest rate, the range for the federal funds rate at 5 to 5.25. This is what he said.
Today, the FOMC decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged and to continue to reduce our securities holdings. Over the past 2 years, we have significantly tightened the stance of monetary policy. Our strong actions have moved our policy rate well into restrictive territory, and we've been seeing the effects on economic activity and inflation. As labor market tightness has eased and progress on inflation has continued, the risks to achieving our employment and inflation goals are moving into better balance.
And that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and on Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. My name is Mark Lin from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.